Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the World Conservation Forum stage. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that you are joining us online. Our next topic is truly interesting. I am so excited to just sit there and listen to the conversation that is coming up, because our speaker's passion for fair and ethical hunting is just all over the place. She's amazing, an amazing professional and a wonderful person, and she has been a member of many, many conservation and anti-poaching organizations around the globe. She has been chosen as the African ambassador of this exhibition. She's a wife, a mother of 3, and you will see how wonderful she is. Also, we have another lady, another woman, another hunter joining her on stage, who is going to be the moderator of this interview, or so to say, talk show. She is the vice president of the Hungarian Hunting Cultural Association, and you will see also a wonderful person and a real tough professional. Please welcome Beatrix and Danene Westhuyzen. Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World Conservation Forum. I'm Beatrix, Vice President of the Hungarian Hunting Culture Association, one of the ambassadors of the One with Nature World of Hunting and Nature exhibition, and an active female hunter since 1996. In the next about 30 minutes, we are going to have a talk with Danene Westhuyzen, President of the Namibian Professional Hunting Association, Chief Executive Officer of the Outfitters and Professional Hunting Association of Africa, a member of the Conservation Advisory Board of the Dallas Safari Club, and business manager of the Aru Game Lodge. Dear Danene, it's a great honor for me to moderate this talk with you about the topic female hunters. First of all, to warm up, I would like to ask, how are you enjoying your stay in Hungary? How do you like the One with Nature World of Hunting and Nature exhibition?
Hi, Beatrix. Firstly, I would like to say that I feel very honored to sit on the stage with you today. It's really a pleasure to be here. I enjoy my stay in Hungary tremendously. I think it was actually amazing to see that there's such a big culture and history that exists in Hungary, and this exhibition is just amazing. It brings people from all over the world together. The Hungarians have gone above and beyond in all the services that they've rendered to us. From 2 years ago when they started this already, Sofia, Aniku, Judith, Deputy Commissioner Zoltan, they have all done an exceptional job. So we feel so at home. It's been really fantastic.
Thank you. You are not only a professional hunter, but also the first female dangerous game professional hunter in Namibia. How did this happen? How did you get close to hunting?
Well, you know, I was born in Namibia. My parents were born in Namibia, and my grandparents were born there. And if you are born in Namibia, you're almost born a hunter by itself. We've got the second least populated country in the world, so we don't have a lot of people. We've got a massive amount of habitat and wildlife. So it's almost second nature when you are being brought up in Namibia to hunt, especially for meat, as a sustenance hunter. I've always had a huge passion for wildlife, beautiful sceneries, but I also have a great love for animals in general. And I've always really wanted to make sure that we protect wildlife a little bit more than what I've seen. And I think I just stuck up my hand too many times at certain gatherings. But mostly it comes from my father. My father really instilled a great love of hunting for me. I'm the oldest of 3 daughters, so I was always very lucky that I was the one chosen to take along on a hunting trip. And my father was always very, very passionate, but also very ethical. He always hunted on foot, which at that time was quite strange, because in Namibia, when you hunted for meat, people would easily shoot an animal off the back of the vehicle. And he didn't like it, so he really taught me the real hunting, the pursuit of wildlife, and to really connect with nature. So I love hunting. I think it's in my blood. I think it's in everybody's blood. It's like Africa. I think everybody has a piece of Africa in their heart. So it comes natural.
Yes, it's true. One of the most famous Hungarian hunter writers, Zsigmond Széchenyi, wrote that the passion itself crystallized slowly in hunters' minds and souls. What do you think about it? Was hunting a fully natural activity for you from the beginning, or it took time to realize that this was your path, this was your passion, and this was what you want to do?
You know, there's a big difference between people participating in nature and people observing nature. I think everybody has an appreciation for nature and wildlife, but I don't think there's a lot of people that can really see nature as I think God intended us to look at it. You know, we tend to shallow days like peanuts, all of us, and especially in this day and age in our society. And it's one thing to be able to notice the Eiffel Tower or one of your beautiful statues, but it's another thing to notice the wing of a dragonfly or the gait of a kudu. I think there's really something deeply instilled in nature where we learn from ourselves a lot, and the absolute beauty and tranquility that nature offers us. And I think that only culminates when you've spent a lot of time in nature, where you realize what your role is and where your place is in nature, and to be a protectorate. It's an obligation that was given to us. So I think the more time you spend in the veld and the more time you think about it, the more of a protectorate you become. And I think everybody has it in their hearts, and it needs to be explored. And that's why it's so important to try and re-establish the connection between human beings and nature, because I really think that's being lost. And that's why this fair is also amazing. I mean, the amount of children that you see on the floor investigating, asking questions, and really getting back into nature, that is really one thing that we need to focus on more, and this exhibition has done it tremendously.
You stated in an interview that being in the presence of beauty helps restore our focus. An ancient tree, flowing water, winter starry nights, the francolin greeting the dawn, a lion's mighty roar transform a working day into a miracle. I aim to translate this to my hunters. Is this the difference between a female and a male hunter, or is there any differences between a woman and a man in hunting at all?
Well, firstly, female hunters definitely are better shots. I'm not saying that men are not necessarily better hunters. I do think that's maybe the case. But when it comes to shooting and accuracy, females are most certainly better. I've seen that over and over again. And I think it's because we don't have such big egos as men do. They listen. When somebody tells you, shoot left, shoot right, do this, women do that. They want to have that control. They want to have that responsibility. And I don't necessarily think that because of that piece that I've written, that nature really translates, it really brings you into the moment. I don't think there's anything like hunting that places you in an exact moment. We are so worried these days, all of us. We look back and we look to the future and we worry about things that happen. And I think hunting is the one thing that brings you right into the moment, because you have to, there's a split second where you sometimes have to make a choice. Do I go left around the bush or do I have to go right around the bush? It really pulls you into a certain moment. And I think that's all for whether you're a female or a male. That counts for everybody. But I do think there's a big difference between female hunters and male hunters when it comes to advocacy and when it comes to responsibility. I think women know what blood is. Women know what blood means. Women know what the difference is between life and death, much more, I think, to a certain extent than males. And I think because of that, we really take our role for responsibility much more seriously. And I think the general public out there also have more empathy for women when they talk and when they explain things like that. So when it comes to hunting itself, I really don't think there's much of a bigger difference, especially from emotional side. I think everybody has that to a certain extent. Men are, of course, stronger. They've got better endurance and all of that. But you cannot say that women or men have a more of an emotional aspect towards that. But like I said, I do think they are better shots than men.
You are the president of the Namibian Professional Hunting Association and chief executive officer of the Westhuyzen Professional Hunting Association of Africa. How could you achieve this in such a male-centered world like hunting? Were there any difficulties on the way so far?
Yes, it is very difficult, and it was very difficult. Like I mentioned before, I think I stuck up my hand too many times when it came to questioning certain things. Are we on the right track? Is this what we are supposed to do as conservationists? And maybe the men just got fed up of me and said, just make her present, let just her do it, and let's see what happens. And but it is a man's world, or up until now. I think there's a lot of, we've heard it also through some of the talks, how many women hunters are actually growing in Europe. The number is really growing in a very fast rate. And I think, and I don't want to say it wasn't difficult, it was difficult, and it always is. There's always factors that plays a role in that, but I don't think it's something that we should dwell on too much. I think if we all have the same vision for what we want to achieve as human beings and our role that we play in nature, I think it shouldn't matter.
I've been to Africa several times, and I know very well that as a guest, you need to entrust your life to your professional hunter. How do your male guests receive that they have to entrust their lives to a woman?
Yeah, I'll never forget when I started as a guide many years ago. The first hunt we've ever had was a big group of clients. I think there were 6 hunters, so we were 6 professional hunters as well, and then we all came together and we decided who's going to hunt with who, and you know, I was all there, who's going to choose me, and ultimately my husband decided that we're going to draw some matches. So, and everybody was in it, the hunters were all for it, they said, okay, let's do it, and the hunters all stood in a row, and somebody pulled my match, and I'll never forget his face. He was kind of disappointed, unfortunately. And it was so many years ago, but since then, that guy has become my most favorite client, and he hunts every year with us, and he demands that it's I that hunt with him. So it's funny, men are they actually feel very, maybe because they feel more in control at the moment, I don't know. But they are they don't have a problem really as such. And I think the world since then has also changed their perspective a little bit. There's a lot of, you'll see a lot of families starting to hunt together, which is amazing. So there's a lot of husbands and wives that come out together as hunters, and they've got mutual respect for each other, and the same goes towards a professional hunter. So yes, it is difficult. But if you look at being a professional hunter, your highest responsibility is to put your client in the best possible position without having to put him in danger. And that is our ultimate goal as a professional hunter, is you shouldn't go out and look for danger. You should actually make sure that you avoid it and you put your client in the best possible position. And I think, you know, obviously there's situations that arise around it, but if you follow those rules and you walk into the wind, you won't necessarily really have to be able to protect your man client in such an extent.
You work a lot to promote sustainable and ethical hunting. Here in Hungary, there is a club for female hunters. Our experience is that a female hunter can better communicate and promote hunting as an ancient and necessary activity, and they can help a lot with making hunting accepted. What do you think about it? In your opinion, which are the fields where a female hunter can make more efficient work?
Sorry, just repeat that, in my opinion.
In your opinion, which are the fields where a female hunter can do more efficient work?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I definitely think that women have a sense of a higher responsibility. Many years ago, I asked a lot of male and female hunters, do you think that the act of hunting is an act of violence? And it was so interesting. Many men would immediately defend hunting, and they'd say, no, it's not an act of violence. We go out to pursue wildlife. It's a swift bullet. We try to kill the animal immediately. We do it for, they really try to argue the point of why they would hunt. But when I asked the same question to women, they would immediately say, yes, of course hunting entails violence. And so many did it, and it was actually incredible that you could, the big difference between how the males responded versus a female hunter. And again, it just showed me that they still are hunters, but they see it as violence, but not because it's violence, because they realized, again, the responsibility of what we are doing. Why are we doing this? Asking ourselves of why do we hunt? Where does the money go? What does this contribute to sustainable wildlife? What does it contribute to the survival of that species? So I think that really is significant when it comes to female hunters. I really think female hunters also are community people. They really bring communities together. And like I've mentioned, there's so much empathy for women when you speak on that topic, because you can explain yourself probably better. Remember, women have how many thousand words more than a man per day allowed? all of that aspects. So I really think they communicate better, they form a community, they teach their children on a different way than a man would. And there's a different expectancy from women, and I think they really fulfill that role very, very well.
They say that with emancipation, we women achieve the right to overwhelm by several tasks. You are the business manager of your own lodge, a mother and a wife. How are you able to manage this huge amount of tasks, and how can you find balance in your life?
Don't you see my gray hair? I don't sleep much. I really don't sleep much. Silver hair. No, you know what? It's all to do with support. I've got the biggest support team in the world. There's a saying that, what's the saying again? That children are brought up by community. And mine was really, if you look at how my children were brought up by 30 different people, some of my staff, my managers, my parents, my wonderful husband. I've got the best husband in the world that can do anything. Sometimes he even would sew my clothes back together for me if I don't have the time. So I think support is very, very important. You need buy-in from your family if you embrace positions like these and responsibilities like these. If you really want to make a difference, you need people to support you in that, and I've got an amazing team. But my days are very full. I try to train very early in the mornings. I go out hunting. I'll come back. I'll check the kitchen, whether the chefs have prepared the food correctly, and then when all the other PHs go and have a lie down, I'll jump on my computer, do some work, coffee cake in the afternoon, go out hunting again. Evening, same story. Where's the children? Have they taken a bath? Are they okay? Check the kitchen again. And then when everybody goes to sleep, I start with my next position's emails. And that's basically, you don't sleep a lot. You really think a lot. You lie awake at night. But again, if you've got a great team that supports you and assists you in that, it makes life much, much easier.
I have the same experience.
I'm sure.
You and your family pick, gather milk, and hunt for the ingredients that go into the recipes you have collected in your book, From the Wild. What is your lifestyle like on the farm? What does the sustainable use and conservation of the environment mean for you?
Yes, I finished my book, From the Veld, last year. It's a beautiful recipe book with all sorts of venison game, salads, cakes, breads, and all of that, because it is a part of our heritage and our culture. Most of those recipes were from my grandmothers, my mother, my family, my friends. And we live 2 hours from the nearest town, so we cannot go out and buy a bread next door or a slice of cake in the afternoon. We go shopping once a month to buy the necessary things, but I make all our own butter and creams and cheeses. We've got all our herb gardens and vegetables. Unfortunately, in Namibia, don't have enough water for proper fruit trees, but we harvest ostrich eggs. We use a lot from the veld and venison. My children are bare feet all the time. That's the way we were brought up, and that's the way we live. We really utilize and use nature on a daily basis, whether it's just looking at the sunrise or the sunset, or really harvesting some of the wonderful treasures that the Namibian nature offers us. That's how we form part of nature, and how we get to taste and smell and experience everything that it offers.
Before I pass the microphone to the audience, my last question. What is the ideal future you imagine? What is your plan for future, and what is your message to Hungarian female hunters?
My vision and my hopes and my dreams would be that there's more empathy and better understanding in the world of why we call ourselves conservationists. I think these days people have grown so anxious to protect wildlife much more that you get people that really flip the scale a little bit too much. And they don't realize that we all actually want the same thing. We all want to protect nature. We all want to protect wildlife. We all want the same thing. And I think that lots of messages are being lost. People's ears aren't always open. So I'd really hope that there's a better communication channels and understanding and empathy for what we do and why we call ourselves conservationists. But mostly, my wish would be that we've got more animals living freely in the wild, and that children, for example, would rather not want to go or have to go to a zoo to see a rhino or an elephant or a giraffe or even a roebuck for that matter, but rather have the ability and the chances to see all those animals in the wild. There's nothing like walking around a tree and out jumps a rabbit, or instead of seeing a collared animal or an animal that's locked up behind a cage. That's, I think, is my biggest wish, is for the whole human race to still be able to see free, wild animals as a surprise every day, because there's nothing like that surprise when you're in the veld. You relive different moments every single time. And for the Hungarian hunters or huntresses, keep doing what you're doing. Don't shy away from the fact that you hunt. It's very important that you sit around a table in the evenings, talk to your children about why you do it, so that they can be brave when they advocate us as hunters, and not shy away from it. That's very important. And don't post your trophy pictures on social media.
Thank you.